Million Pumpkins Ranch for more public displays of homesteading. And I'm here in our main garden, and I'm going to be planting out some tree and perennial seeds. And I'm going to be working through some syntropic agroforestry type of techniques. So join me as I experiment. This is my first time planting trees from seeds, and I'm hoping that I'll be successful, and I just want to share the journey with you. So let's flip the screen here. Okay, so what I have assembled, now these are annual vegetables, and then I've got perlite, but over here I've got goji and pomegranate and golden currant seeds. And here are some redbud and dogwood tree seeds. And here are some Siberian pea shrub seeds. And so yesterday, after I made the video showing you about soaking and stratification and all that, I came out here and I planted a lot of this. I planted that with the golden currants and with the redbud. Redbud gives you wings. But down in the corner that I'm aiming you at, that's where I want to take a chop at first with you today. I want to plant some dogwood in that corner because if I look out the window, I'll be able to see the dogwood in bloom, and that just tickles my fancy. Now, the first principle of syntropic agroforestry, I'm just going to say first syntropic principle is to maintain coverage of the earth at all times. So I've got a thick layer of mulch here, and I've also got some different types of plants volunteering, and I've got my target crop, garlic. So that shows several of the syntropic principles. Keeping it covered, having different types of plants to maximize the photosynthesis. And then now I'm going to show you chopping and dropping. That's part of the management strategy. Syntropic is not going to be your love it and leave it type of gardening. It's management intensive. So I've got my sickle. So this is one management strategy, which is to chop and drop. My sickle needs to be sharpened. You chop and drop. This is a perennial clump grass. It's a native, so I welcome having natives. There's target species, and then there's all the other species or helper species. So that will now send a growth pulse of hormones and sugars into the soil, assisting the companions next to that plant. And also we have alfalfa that has volunteered from putting alfalfa hay down. I'm going to give that one a bit of a chop. Try to get a good angle. Alfalfa is a legume, and it is a nitrogen fixing plant. So it's also a perennial with a deep taproot, and it is an animal fodder. So having multiple functions from one plant is always key in permaculture. And then next to us, there's a perennial rye. That one needs to go. I'm kind of crawling while I'm wielding the tripod, so pardon the poor videography. Yep. And that will just feed the soil and add to the mulch. And we'll get a growth pulse coming out. All right. This is the spot I'm gonna plant some dogwood seeds. They're already germinating. So let me get you set up. Okay, right between the clump of grass and the culinary sage. Gonna put some dogwood right there. Be right back. So we've got the thick mulch to armor the soil. That's the very first principle. Before I did any other development of this garden, I covered the soil with all this animal litter. And right away that will reduce the UV hitting your soil and basically sterilizing it of all life. And you can tell this is still in the detritosphere where the mulch touches the soil, but you can see some action of that turning into humus already. Let me bring you in closer. Shorten your legs a little bit. Sorry for fumbling with the tripod. And I'll check in with who's in the chat. I always love it when you speak up in chat. Whoa, we're upside down. Holy cow. Is everybody dizzy? Woo! Woohoo! Hi, Marie. Welcome. Welcome to the show. Okay, so here's what I'm talking about. As I peel back this mulch, you'll see how the soil is developing. If you look at the texture, you can see that it's turning into little balls stuck together. It's stuck with like humic acid and it's lubricated by the biological action. And that creates, you know, they say water is life. That creates a hydrated zone for the microbes to travel. So the soil is the basis of any garden, and it's the basis of any animal husbandry. So I'm always looking to grow and develop new and better soil. Here's the detritus, and then the soil horizon. And if you look just outside the fence, you can see where the uncovered bare dirt, it's not full of life like this sponge. Okay, and then let's see what's deeper. scoot that out of the way. Oh, look here, right away. Signs of life in here. These black balls right here, those are beetle castings. So those are as good as worm castings. They just came out of beetle grubs instead of worms. That is free fertilizer. So I feed the soil animal litter, and that makes the native life wake up, and it gives it something to eat, and it turns sheep dung into plant food. Things even tinier than that will eat that, and then it'll break it down into more of its components, even smaller, so that the root tips of the plant can uptake that. And look at the texture of this. Okay, so that's where some of the soil has taken on organic material. Now, a lot of the organic material in soil is microscopic. It's like at a molecular level. So not even microscopic, but it's the compounds becoming bioavailable, and then bad compounds become chelated and rendered non-toxic. So I think we can go down one more. I think we're going to be getting down to earth and humble on this live stream. And we keep flopsing. Okay. So let's dig a little deeper on this little patch, because I'm hitting a hard pack, which is going to be the plain old native sandy loam that we have going on. We're in Apache County, northern Arizona. And yesterday I did this at sundown and there were earthworms in there, but I think they've retired to the depths. But maybe they'll show up. Okay, so that's ready for planting. And the ones with long tails on them, those are red buds. And the smaller lentil-looking ones are dogwoods. So I'm going to just plant all those dogwoods right here, and we'll just see what that gives us. Oh, this one? No, that one's stuck to the other one. I think I'm going to pull off the red buds. Put the red buds right here. Just slow down. And then I'm going to dribble the dogwoods. I think that one might be a dogwood. I can't tell. That's an awkward kneeling position I'm in. Such is life. Okay, so I think most of those are dogwoods, and I'm just gonna put them down. So we've got some dogwoods sown in cups in the house. So those might win. And then I like to make my furrow have that seed bed hump and irrigation dips like that. And because we have a little extra room and we've got these red buds, I'm going to stick a couple of those on the end here. Very delicately spread a spot for it to be. Oh, it needs to be facing upright with its leaf facing the sun. 1, two. Let's do a third one in there. I have to get these in the ground right away. And then this weekend we're going to make more potting soil. And then I can start some of my tree seeds in pots. We are favored with some extremely unseasonably warm weather. But being adaptive means you ride that fire horse into this new year. Okay, so that's all my dogwoods and 3 more redbuds. Now I'm going to put some perlite. Grab the perlite. Perlite, I've never had perlite. It's what you see in the potting soils that you can buy, but the local feed store sells you huge bales of it for like 20 something. Anyways, just gonna tuck for those to show up. But I'm just gonna keep taking care of them, watering them, and if they get crowded by other stuff, I'll cut it back. Intensive management for Syntropic gardening. All right. Now I gotta get my stuff back down the line. Okay. Grow, dogwoods, grow. Culinary sage, zesty sorrel, onions, red buds planted, golden currants planted. Thyme is looking great. And more red buds, more golden currants planted. Now, this is where I left off at this alfalfa plant here. Wow, how wonky is that? Okay. Yep, there's the green plant. Now, I'm gonna work on down the line. And last time I did not have as many varieties. I just had the red bud and the golden currant. But now I have good and Siberian pea shrubs to also plant. So, first off, chop and drop. Feathers make good manure too, or mulch rather. And then just clear this a bit. That's just, oxidizing. It's not helping anybody, waving in the air, and it's not really tall enough to provide much of a wind block. So down it goes. Now, gloves back on, and we're going to peel back this deep mulch. There. And I have a furrow developed under there. So unless I'm going to do a clean sweep like I do with the onions, there's no need to bring out the pickmatic and redig the trench. Now you can tell that after the fall harvest, I leave the living roots in the ground and let them die back naturally. And that gives more food for the soil. And we'll start to see the same evidence of soil development. Oh yeah, look at this stuff. I get really excited about building soil. We're told that we're destroying the planet, but in just 3 years, I've turned that red dust into this. And it's just by listening to that still small voice inside, God's voice, and following what's good and healthy. Oh, there's one. Check it out. There's one. There's a worm. There you go, buddy. That's a little tiny one. But it's nice to see. This spot has the worms. There's a piece of wood that will help with fungus to form mycorrhizal networks. The fungus like woody material. Yeah, the first year I had an artichoke here. Oh, look at that fat worm. Can you see it? There he is. So there were no worms here whatsoever when we arrived. We just have that red, mostly sandy loam, but it's completely oxidized. But now these worms came from who knows where, and they came due to stewardship, because I was given this privilege to care for this land. And there's information called Syntropic agroforestry and permaculture. There's soil science now, and we can heal the earth. Wherever you live, you can take your soil into your own two hands, and you can follow some simple principles like deep mulch. Look at this black. Deep mulch, you want the layers of different types of photosynthesis. So each plant, ooh, look at this guy. Each plant is a solar collector with a sugar synthesizing plant built in. So we want to have all the different kinds of solar collectors, blades of grass, broadleaves, ground covers, spiky things and smooth things, and sage green things and emerald green things. And we want all the different types of solar collectors working together. They're all going to be making different types of carbohydrates to put in the soil. And that's going to mean all the right kinds of compounds are going to come. That's going to be the milkshake that brings all the soil life to your yard. And this is the proof right here. I did not buy any kind of inoculations or anything. This is just from putting my farm animals' poop and straw on the ground. Not straw, but like spent hay. So it's just trying to close the loop of the last principle is to improve the ecosystem. So last year was a real hard knock year of drought, and the birds came from miles around because we were like the only green area for them to land at, and they could drink from our watering tubs and, you know, eat from the garden. So yeah, I suffered a hit trying to grow leafy greens, you know, when the birds came in early spring, but it's worth it. That's helping the ecosystem through agricultural practices. And that is my creed world. through agriculture. But you might be thinking, what about the scale? How can you scale that? Well, I don't really care about scaling. Scaling is overrated. I have 40 acres, and I'm one gardener. The guys help. I'm not trying to, negate what they do, but I'm the gardener. And, I have a full-time program tending this size of a garden. I really like some of the other channels' work, like, of course, Jeff Lawton is the famous guy, but we have our local, not, the state. We have our own state of Arizona gems, like greening the Mojave Desert. That guy is transforming the Mojave Desert just through earthworks and rock mulch. And he starts to see what else to plant. We've got golden currants in here, along with pomegranates. And that's what I had planted earlier on down this row. Let's switch it up and do some pea shrubs. Now these pea shrubs are going to take 30 freaking days to germinate, which, oh my Lord, talk about patience. I'm kind of patient. Like, I have other things to do, so I'm not, coming to dig them up and see, are you growing yet? Are you growing yet? I'm more of the catastrophist, and I'm like, it's not gonna grow. It's dead already. It's all hopeless. So for me, planting seeds that take 30 days to germinate is an exercise in my faith. And gardening is always kind of a direct revelation of the Holy Spirit at work in His creation. And I'm here for it. And I'm just His servant. And when this is the rhythm of life, you just embrace the humbleness. The word humble comes from humus of soil. So this is how I've become humble, and I'm on my knees in praise of creation and in praise of the mercy we receive. It's amazing. It's a miracle, especially as we come across the holy day soon. Okay, so pea shrubs and dogwood planted. Put a little bit of perlite on there. I like being upwind of the perlite. It's dangerous to inhale. Don't inhale, dude. Okay, so that's perlite down. Now back to principle 1. Cover the soil. So I haven't talked about what most people think is the main big deal about Syntropic, is that it is about supporting natural succession, not natural selection, natural succession. And that is where you have bare dirt, like on our lane, the drive there. The first thing that can come along are just like really nasty types of weeds like goat head, and maybe you'll get some grasses, but those are the types of pioneer plants you'll get. And then as those establish, their waste products are nutrition products for the next plant. Funny how that works. And so the next plant group will come along. Okay. And it just goes from pioneer plants up through, so you get grasses and herbs, and then you start getting shrubberies, and then you get apex trees. Syntropic agriculture is designed to push the succession from grass pioneers up to your climax or target species rapidly, and to emphasize like the healthiest and best outcome for your target species, and all the other plants that are not your target species are just helpers in the effort. There's no such thing as weeds. Now, that doesn't mean that we allow weeds to take over, but what it does mean is that we stand on the shoulders of the weeds and work in harmony, using them to growth pulse the system and give it a positive disruption to shock it into high gear for the next level up. So it's kind of like a video game. You're trying to level up the succession. Okay, so in this little hollow right here, I'm going to do some maintenance because there's a rosemary tucked in there. This rosemary was not very frost tolerant. It really died back a lot, but being anytime soon. So I'm going to have a look, maybe do some surgery in here. Okay, the plant twisted this way, and there is a grass plant crowding it. This is perennial rye. It's a great cold season cover crop. So cover crops are a big deal in Syntropic because you're using them to stand on their shoulders, and then they give their last gasp as a bonus to the next generation of succession. And also down here I'm having weeds that are wild morning glory, which some people call bindweed. Oh no, not bindweed. It's terrible, and probably this year too. Anything that was green in this garden was my friend, and that included bindweed. So that's the attitude that you have when you're trying to do Syntropic. So I think this rosemary here is going to survive. Only the tiniest slip of life. Let me see if anybody has anything to say. It's hard for me to read the chat right now, and it looks like one other person said hi. Hello there. Sorry the glare is so much. I'm outside and we have blue skies in the Arizona sun. So it looks like it's hot, but it's about 65 maybe. Gonna be in the 70s today, I think. All right, here's a big thick piece of perennial rye, but I want to plant some of my shrubs here, so we're going to give it that disruption. Tuck this back in, and then we've got more organic material and woody bits kind of in place here. Get those out of the way. So there's a Brazilian Syntropic teacher, can't remember his name, but he always says organize the materials. So I can chop my green grass at segments that are useful for mulching. I don't have to cut it off at the base. I can actually chop it in place like that. So it's just being super intentional and conscientious about what you're doing. And then I'm just going to pull those out anyway. It's giving its life for the garden's legacy, for the greater good. All right, now I'm going to open up the blanket. There's a lot of stuff sticking out, so the claw keeps catching on things. There's roots. There's sticks. There's grass clumps. I'm just peeling that back. So there's another, can't remember his name either, but he has a technique of tree planting he calls the STUN method, S-T-U-N, and it stands for something like sheer, total, utter neglect. And that's where you plant as many tree seeds as possible in every conceivable context in your land, and you give them only the most minimal care, like water them their first couple years or whatever you have to do in your context. Like here, I'd have to deep water them, or I'm just throwing seeds into the fire. But anyways, once that happens, you let the trees fend for themselves, and only the best tree survives. And that's the one that stays. That becomes the climax tree. And that way you get the best possible stock and resilient to all the issues that you may have in your location. So I notice when I pull out grass that there's way more of that aggregate. Aggregate is the little globs of soil stuck together with biology. And I know this is a bit of a nerd garden. I'm a soil geek. It's true. Now this kind of grass here, this is actually the ice cream of the prairie. It's blue grama, and it can have either a clump or a ground cover mat effect, depending on how you train it. In isolated sandbars, it will clump and have a hard, deep taproot, and where it's managed with grazing or culture, it will spread and create a lawn for pasture, and it's awesome feed for the livestock. It's their favorite. So I'm not really worried about doing too much carnage here, because it's going to come back to keep it from taking shrubs, perennial seeds. Because Principle 5, high management model. Other channels have shown I neglected my Syntropic line for 6 months. How did it look? And they get a remarkable amount of resiliency. Like, they have things that would ordinarily just die without pampering. They're kind of like specimen trees, but left alone and neglected in a Syntropic line, they seem more resilient. And all they have to do is like cut back the overgrowth, and the target trees bounce back. Okay. So I don't know what was so special about that section right over there, but the earthworms were crazy. Not so many earthworms noticeable here. But let me go ahead and plant a few seeds, and then I think I'll call it a day with y'all. So because, yeah, let's do, that's what I was going to do. Do some of these Siberian pea shrubs. I think that's good. These are easy. Doink. 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 How far did I get? I think to there. These guys are going to feed the poultry, especially they make pea pods. And once again, they are a nitrogen fixing legume. So that is a permaculture staple. Now all plants collect nitrogen from the air and bring it down to create amino acid compounds and proteins and, terpenes and all the things that plants make. But legumes are notable because they form an alliance with bacteria in their roots, and they create these nitrogen nodules. Okay, so there's Siberian pea shrubs planted. Let's put some perlite. And push this stuff back. And I am more skimpy. I have less mulch on this little section. But luckily, the rabbits and sheep are a limitless provider of mulch and manure. Also, I've got all this green grass right here. There's some mulch. And if you're into composting, you'll remember that green is nitrogen, brown is carbon. So this is not only a physical mulch to protect the soil, it's also a green manure, chock full of nitrogen. All right, that clump of grass is the only thing between me and an artichoke that overwintered. So I'm going to take care of that and continue on. I have, a lot of seeds left to plant. All right, let me say goodbye to you. I've got to take the gloves off. Okay, well, I don't know if anybody is still watching. I think I see one person is still watching. So I'm really glad that you decided to join me as I work here on the homestead and test drive some Syntropic principles in the homestead garden. So it's larger than just, a vegetable garden ordinarily. It's meant to feed the entire family and hopefully have surplus to bring out to the community. So it's a micro farm, and it's also connected with the environment, with our livestock, because our livestock produces the mulch and the manure that fuels the system, that's getting the soil living, brings the earthworms, brings all the microbes, and feeds the earth and greens the desert. So I really am appreciative if anyone, found it enlightening, and if you would be so kind, click the subscribe button, and the notification bell will let you know when I'm on next. So, cheers and blessings. Boop.